Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the start of term two. I can't believe we're in mid-October already, and we've completed 9 weeks of school. Some of you did a great job. You passed all your classes. If you're a middle schooler, you're preparing for high school and passing those classes so you can earn credits. If you're in high school, you've done a great job of getting closer to the ultimate goal of graduating and getting the heck out of here and moving on with your life. Some of you did not pass all your classes this first term, and so we'll have to figure out a way to make those credits up somehow, some way in the future. Um, One of my big things is it's a heck of a lot easier to do that work the first time than to have to repeat it a second time. I know working at the high school in my past, it was always frustrating to see kids not pass a term and then have to retake that class the whole term and try and catch up. So stay ahead of the game by passing your classes. If you didn't pass all your classes term one, make it a habit of term two. And it's very easy to pass your classes, okay? You got to show up every day. We all know that. Attendance is important. Attendance leads to success. You can say school is boring. You can say school stinks. You can say all these things about school. But if you look at your neighbor to the right, yeah, look over there. Okay. Look at your neighbor maybe to your left over here, or maybe that person behind you right now, and think to yourself, do I see them every day at school? Yes, I do. Or maybe, gosh, I don't see them here every day at school. They miss some days. Or maybe even it's a situation where I'm the one that's gone. There's only one person that can fix that, and that's you, okay? When you need to take a mental health day, come to school. We got supports for you. When you're not feeling the greatest, come to school. We'll get you through, okay? If you want to be on gold, come to school. People who don't come to school typically don't get on gold. It's really tough to earn those points when you're not here. I was really proud of the way we started last week without having internet and those options, and getting through Monday and into Tuesday and Wednesday. So you guys did a great job with that, with those challenges. It doesn't surprise me one bit that your teachers and our scholars made it through with no problems, because you guys are resilient. If you get knocked down, you brush yourself off and get back up again. You guys are survivors, and that's one of the things I admire about you. So that leads me right into our coffee bean for this week. And our coffee bean this week is a pretty awesome one, and it's miracles. And if you've ever seen that movie, Miracle on Ice, about the hockey team in the Olympics, and there's a famous quote by one of my favorite sports announcers of all time, Al Michaels. And Al Michaels now is 84, 85 years old, and he still does the NFL football broadcast on Prime, as sharp as ever. But in 1980, he's the one that had the famous quote of, "Do you believe in miracles? Well, here's a miracle," when the United States beat the Russians in the 1980 Olympics in Lake Placid. And when I was watching Al last Thursday calling the Bengals and the Steelers game, which I'm glad that the Steelers lost. Sorry, are those Steelers fans out there? It just reminded me of his famous quote of, "Do you believe in miracles?" And there might have been some miracles happen last week, like some people busted their butt, made some things up, and actually passed a class they didn't think they'd pass. Or they made it all week to school, and they hadn't made it a full week for a while, so they thought, heck, that might be a miracle. I made it there all week, Those are minor things compared to the major miracles that we have in our world, in our lives today. And you can say, well, I don't believe in miracles. And, that's your right. You have a right not to believe in miracles. But think about this, okay? You live on a giant rock. Yeah, the Earth is a giant rock. And we are hurtling through outer space at 60,000 miles an hour, okay? That's pretty doggone fast. And while we're hurtling through space at 60,000 miles an hour, our Earth is spinning around 1,000 miles an hour. If you don't believe me, ask Mrs. Sorensen. She's a science teacher. She knows all about the space stuff. She knows all about the rocks. And I know Miss Boroff tried to teach some science last week with Maya Sims, and Mrs. Sorensen's still your go-to for science. But everything in our existence today is a miracle, and every day is a miracle. So believe that miracles are possible, and you will start seeing them as the result of your positive attitude and your positive actions. So think about lunch. Think about if you're outside at recess or at our 10-minute break during lunchtime. And the great thing is this week, everybody can be off the steps and outside if you choose to, because you're all gold or silver. You're welcome, because a lot of you would have been on bronze and now you're on silver because we started a new term and we went back to our tradition of giving everybody a fresh start. That can go away term 3, though, if people are a jerk that last week and they're like, "Oh, I can be a jerk because I'll be silver next week, even though I'm supposed to be on bronze." That all can be subject to change. I don't get to do a lot of cool things as a principal. One of the cool things I get to do is make that decision of whether we're going to go with that tradition or not. But miracles happen every day. And if you're positive and if you believe, those miracles can happen. But like at lunch, in between classes, when you're in classes, that's where you control the narrative. You control what happens. And you choose to be positive or you choose to be a negative person. And I've seen a lot of negative attention in the school in the last few weeks, people starting drama, people stirring up drama. And remember, I don't do drama, okay? In fact, if people want to start drama, I will end that drama, and it's usually not a fun ending for the people starting the drama. You guys know that. This isn't anything new. So my miracle for this week is I hope like heck that there's a miracle happening on Friday when I'm sending out the emails on the levels, and I only send out one email group, and it's to all golds because everybody got on gold. Yeah, middle schoolers, that might be a challenge for you guys because you guys are leading the clubhouse in behavior support referrals, and that's not a good thing, okay? And I've watched all of you be good, and I've watched all of you follow directions, and I've watched all of you get your work done, but I've also seen you argue with teachers or yell or touch one another or do things that hurt your points, or you don't come to school. Those are the ways that are keeping you off gold. So let's have some miracles this week. Let's challenge ourselves to get on gold. Let's challenge ourselves to be the best students we can be starting term 2. And let's make some miracles happen, okay? I hope you had a great weekend. I had 3 days off. You had some great weather. I'm jealous. I was inside all day, looking outside at the beautiful things going on in the weather outside. But, that's what happens when you're an adult. So for those of you that want school to be over really fast and move on to the next chapter, it's not always fun being the adult and going to work when you'd rather be out playing, okay? But I want you to know one thing. If no one's told you this today, remember this, and you can say it with me. Your teachers love you, and I love you. Let's have a fantastic week. All right.